basically, on my previous session, I have discussed regarding what is performance testing and what are the basic needs of performance testing, and we were discussing about the types of the performance testing, which we could not complete it. And even I have explained a vast like I have explained you on architecture, like one tier, two tier, and three tier architecture, and even I demonstrated an example. And so basically you haven't watched my previous session, then highly I'll encourage you guys to go and view the previous session, so that you will have a better picture of this session and you'll understand it very clear. You'll have a very clear picture on this. So uh, I for today's agenda, like what all things we will be discussing. Again, we will be considering the types of performance testing, and I will show you like even now I'll not focus on the any kind of tool, but as of now I'm considering load runner as my primary tool to show you some of the scenario based of load test. Like as I already mentioned, we have different varieties and types of performance testing. So we will deep dive into each and every types of testing, and I'll make sure that you understand very perfectly. And uh, so uh, so I think you guys are able to understand you guys are able to understand this session very clearly. So if you face any kind of challenge or difficulties, then please let me know. I will be clearing your doubts. So then let's get started with our session for day 3. Okay, the day I was discussing about load test, like these are the different types of performance testing we have: load test, stress test, endurance test, breakdown test, spike test, volume test, and step up test. We'll individually look into every performance type testing. And so, as of today's session, I have planned for load test, and I'll try to explain you each and every components regarding this load test, why this load test is needed, and many more, like what is load test, what is peak test, peak load, and what is peak hour, how to determine load for new as well as old application, purpose of load test. So let's get started. So basically guys, like what do you understand by load? Load is nothing but a burden. Like if you assume like there is an Flipkart application, suppose in a day like 5,000 users are logged into the application, and they are performing any kind of activity. Even if they are not purchasing, they are doing any kind of activity, like they are searching, or do you know that like most of the people like IT folks or the people who work in any organization, they will be working hard from Monday to Friday, and from Saturday, Sunday, they get a leisure time or a free time, so that they start scanning or screening from their phone, from their mobile. Like they go to any of the shopping sites and they start looking some of the gadgets or clothing or any kind of things which they wanted to purchase. So so most of the time you observe that the in weekends normally the online websites get a higher load, due to like the people are leisure and they don't have anything to do. They start looking for something to purchase and any kind of thing. So what is that? That is some kind of load which is given to the application. The The server is so we may not be knowing as an end user how what is the capacity to of that server, like how much users can an the server can handle. So this is what load means, like a burden given to an application. So load test is nothing but you are simulating the same thing without the real user. Like with the help of a tool, you are trying to simulate the real user activity. Like you are able to simulate all the 5,000 users in a single time, because you know, right, there might be this is a very expensive tool, and performance testing is also a very expensive, as I already discussed in my previous session. So considering this type of testing very expensive, so we have a lot of tools like open source tool like JMeter and like a lot of things, Neuroload and load runner. So as of this session, this course, we will be focusing on load runner. So load runner is it comes with a licensing tool. So it is also it provide you a free, or like it provide you a 40 users. I'll tell you how can you download, and once the session gets proceeded, I'll explain each and everything, like you will be aware of all the things what is needed. So definitely, so this is what, like I was speaking about, we are giving a burden to an application. So that means like n number of users get concurrently sign into the application or logged into the application, and they start surfing, or they start buying some product, or they start searching some product. So these are the things, core functionality of an application. Suppose we consider a grocery. So what is the like critical components, like we should see the different varieties of groceries, or we can search different type of products, and we can add the products, and we can add the items in the cart, and then we can purchase it. So these are the critical business flow. I'll be discussing one of the flows also, scenarios, once the class is proceeded, and I'll explain all the things. So you might have got a better picture, about load testing now. Like I ensure you that once this session is end, you will have a very clarity, very much clarity about this load test. So I spoke about like load test is nothing but a non-functional type test, and we verifies the performance of an application under some peak load, which I'll be discussing what is peak load. But we consider like there might be n number of loads in an application. Like you suppose you take a production data, like in an year, we have to find out what is the peak load our application is currently experiencing, and we have to take and do the load test for that particular peak hour, or that particular peak load, so that we will be aware that our application is able to handle that amount of load. So why do we do load test? We do load test because we want to make sure all our resource usage are working fine. The server uses that, like all the resources which are being used are under control. Like it is not deviating from our SLAs. So we even see that our system is have performing with some kind of stability and reliability under peak load. So after hearing such amount of time, what a peak load, like you might be getting like, sir, why do you so what is peak load? And please let us know, like you are using this kind of statements, a peak load, we are not able to understand. So I know that you might not be understanding, but do not worry, I'll be explaining this peak load. Peak load, I'll demonstrate an example even also. Like I have made a chart in an Excel, so that you'll better correlate that thing in what is peak load. So peak load is nothing but the highest load identified during a month, year, or particular day. It depends upon the production data. So depending on the criteria which will be provided by our business unit, like our BA, business analyst, so we will be identifying the peak after analyzing all the data. Once we get the data from the BA, we have to start deep diving and analyzing what is the peak load our application is experiencing. So I'll just open the chat so that you can understand what kind of peak load I'm explaining about it. Let's just see. I'll open my Excel. Okay. So I have taken an example like in number of years. Like suppose number of years, you might be knowing mostly our days might vary from 31, 30, and 28. 28 for February, 31 for like the 31 days like March, May, this all things, July, and 30 days for. So I've considered that average time as 30 days. So take considering 30 days, what are the number of active user getting concurrently utilizing our application or using our application. So we see that in the first day there is around 816 users are concurrently active on the application. So similarly, for second day they are 21, for third day 108, and similarly this predictive data goes on. So according to this, for the 30 days, for the 30th day it is 300. So I had plotted, I plotted a production data of a month. I'm not considering which month. So I'll just show you, like you can see the graph or a trend. So it's going up and down. So our application for the first day, it is it is having 816 users, or the customers are active on the application, but for the second day it is falling to 21. Similarly these trends are going up and down. So you can see, you have to find what are the most peak load. Now for the first time, now you saw that 816 and 221, like this 700. So till now I have considered that 816 is my peak load. So 700, okay, 700, 650. Okay, now see, there is a spike in the users, so more number of users are active in the application. So 920, now I can consider my peak load as 920. So again, so this thing again 909 and around 900, like that. So you can see that I have calculated an estimated 920 is my peak load for a month. So I identified the after the BA give me this data, production data, I have to analyze what is my peak data in a month, year, or number of days. So I have identified 920 days is my year. So let's see an example of number of this one I have taken as month. So let's see, we focus on number of year. Year, number of active customers. Okay, let's see. Our company has started its organization in 2001. So similarly, 2002, and now according to 21, we will just go and scroll it down. So 2021, according to this, we will put some data, arbitrary data. Now let's not consider the production data. So let's see these volumes we are getting, this data we are getting from the BA. Let's see around 1000. 2000. So similarly, it's increasing every year. So currently, I'm seeing that 20,000 users are registered in the application. See, so gradually, our application is experiencing with high number of users in years. So between 2000 to 2005, there are 5,000 number of users. So 2005 to 2010, there is 10,000. So the users get doubled in every 5 years. 15,000. 20,000. So by this we can analyze some kind of predictive. We can do some kind of predictive analysis and assume that for the next year again our application should be auto scalable to 22,000, so that if in by the end of the year, if any of the time our application is experiencing around 22,000, then it should be auto scalable. The architecture or the hardware should be auto scaled, because to support that kind of that amount of users. So definitely you could grab some of the things, like analyze this thing by the trend is rising high and high. Once from 2000 to 2021, it never fall down, and our company is normally growing up. So we can feel that this there is always in a year, there is every in a year, thousand number of users are increasing to the application. So we should do all the architecture, like we should scale all the architecture components in every year, so that it could support the number of users. So I think you might have got a better understanding on what is peak load and load test. Then, like, how can you determine the peak load for a new or a old application? So coming to this, like I'll be explaining like how can you determine the peak load for new as well as old application. Just a second. Okay, so for a new application, I think there is no predictive data. Like suppose when I told you, when the first company has first started, it will start with few amount. It will never expect a huge volume of users, unless and until they are a very popular or a or they are getting they're trending or some kind of thing. They will never expect a huge amount of users. So definitely they'll have some limited number of users. So let's see that our company is expecting around 1,000 number of users. So I think that is the amount which is already provided by the BA. So we have to consider this 1,000 number of users as a peak load, because it is not having any predictive data or any historical data. So we consider what is given by the BA. So this is the amount. Suppose this is a client. Let's an example Flipkart. Okay, and they are given service. Suppose they are not doing performance testing. They gave services. They gave to do perform sorry services. So what Flipkart does, like they look after their product, but they don't do performance testing. Okay, so basically, just it's an example. Don't put it in mind, or just don't hardly take that it's Flipkart does that kind of thing. Okay, let's see. Like Flipkart is a product based company, and they do not have any kind of any kind of administration or any kind of operation who could support for performance testing. So they give for any XYZ company to do performance testing. So they when they started, it will be thousand number of users. So initially XYZ company was doing performance testing for Flipkart. So till 2020 they were doing performance testing. They get around 20. Now Flipkart thought that they don't want to go for XYZ, they want to go for ABC company. And now Flipkart has to provide all the details, historical details to this ABC company, so that they can analyze all according to the year. They could analyze the number of users getting it is in, the users are increasing in the application. So let's see. Flipkart already provided that this 2020, and ABC got a point that every year, every year, 1,000 users are increasing. So you can feel like every year, uh, 1,000 users are increasing. So now ABC company will have to perform, like, get all the things. They got the peak load and all. Like peak load is 22,000 20,000 currently they are experiencing. And what is the highest load? Future load, that is 21. What is the future load for 2022? 22,000. So this is the future load, and this is the current load. Okay, so this is the future load and this is the current load. So now they got an idea and they have to do a load test for around 20,000, 21,000. This is, and this is an example. So they have to perform a load test for 1 hour and they have to see our application is performing well, or it is not breaking out, or it is under stability. It's in stability. So this all component and architecture, and what are the related architecture and components, they will be making sure that it is not breaking out, and the server is responding, is able to handle all the requests, and provide all the response to the clients. So they will make sure everything, and they are not able to find any kind of performance bottlenecks. Okay, so I already told about new application and about old application as well. Like, how do they, sir? You might be having a question like, what are the key criterias they will they will choose to ensure the performance testing. Sir, they might be having some kind of modeling. You might have question till now. So yes, if you are having this kind of question, then definitely true. They will be following one kind of workload modeling. Like once they get all the key KPIs, like KPI is nothing but key matrices or performance indices. Like what are the key KPIs for performance testing? You can take response time or TPS. TPS is nothing but transaction response time, and you can take average transaction per second. And what are the SLAs? I have already told, like our client is expecting that all the critical business transactions should be under 5-second SLA. So this all agreement before the performance testing, we have to make sure this all requirement should meet. And I have also explained that I have made a scenario also. You can better correlate the things. So a performance tester can use the expected peak load to prepare the workload modeling. Just here I will mention new application